Okay, so I'm getting a few philosophy videos that I was ready to do today, done with live streams today. So it's been a while since I've done a video on Martin Heidegger's Being in Time, or Sein und Zeit. This is the John McCrory translation. Probably my favorite, I would say. I really like this one. I have the other one somewhere. But this is the one I use for the videos. The other one is probably just as good, but I don't know. There's something about this one that I just really like. So, it's been taking me. I mean, it's been years since I started this book, and since I started doing videos on this book. But it's like I whenever I read this book, I go over it very carefully. You know, along with the fact that I'm reading a lot of other books to do videos on this channel for. It's probably why it's taken me for years. But I did the entire first division. So we're going to be starting the second division, which is called Dasein and Temporality. So I'm going to just go over the intro here, and then we'll be done for this one, and then I'll get my notes ready for the first part of the second division. So it's called The Outcome of the Preparatory Fundamental Analysis of Design and Task of a Primordial Existential Interpretation of this entity. So what have we gained from a preparatory analysis of design? So it's kind of looking back on what this whole previous division was. This is not division 2. What the hell's wrong with me? This is part 2. He never wrote a second division. I have to change that in the title. Sorry. I will change that in the title, because he was meaning to go for a second division. This whole book is division 1. There's 2, I guess, parts. I guess what I'm saying. Pretty sure he calls them parts. Yeah, they're parts. Well, or are they divisions? This is division 2. Okay, so he was gonna write a part 2. Sorry, I'm mixing my terms of what he's calling this, I guess. So he's asking what we gained from the first division, and what we've gained is, I guess, a being a world and having a disclosedness in that. We have a totality. We have a totality in being in the world. We have a structural whole, and which reveals itself as care. That's kind of what this has boiled down to, or Zorga. The being of design is included in care. Care is the concrete constitution of existence, or the equiprimordial connection with design's facticity and its falling. And I discussed the facticity and the falling. So that's kind of what we've gained. We've gained a disclosedness, a totality, a structural whole. We've revealed, he has shown that being in the world reveals itself as care, and the being of design is revealed, or is included in the idea of care. So what are we seeking in this second division? We are seeking an answer to the question about the meaning of being in general, and working out the basic question of all ontology in a radical manner. So we're trying to interpret primordially design's regard to its own being, and we're trying to characterize design ontologically, given the care that we have revealed. And we have given a we've given a primordial, and have we given a primordial interpretation of its entity. And that's kind of, we're looking at design and temporality. It's more interpretation of its being. Is we're going to get more into what that word is. We have discussed that as to what that word is. And this is what is going on here. It's not only is it phenomenological, but it is hermeneutic, which means that we are in interpreting being itself. We are interpreting design. So, what do we mean by primordiality of an ontological investigation? So, an ontological investigation is a way of interpreting, and it's a working out and appropriation of its understanding. And in interpretation is a hermeneutical situation. So we have a conformity with phenomena, and thus a primordial ontological interpretation, and that whole primordial ontological interpretation is thus laid bare, and it's without the missing unity of the structure as a whole. So existence is potentiality for being, and mind in authenticity or authenticity. So we're kind of talking about what we've gained and what we're seeking. So existence is potentiality for being and must be authentic. And potentiality and effecticity are two sides of the same coin. Potentiality being what design is, and its potentiality and what it could be, while the facticity is what it inherently is. Well, and we have a forehaving and a foreconception, which is a primordiality in our interpretation. We have thus a hermeneutical situation. We have a everydayness. Another thing that was very, very, very much discussed, as the whole of design. We have everydayness, primordiality, and a forehaving, which is potentiality, not just to be something that is design. So can a whole of design be considered, and care is the totality of its structural whole, and the hermeneutical situation is where we have no assurance of having, and we have it unmistakable. What is unmistakable is that our existential analysis of design up till now cannot lay claim to primordiality. And beforehand, it's been a lot of ontic and not a ton of primordial and purely ontological. There was, but that is we're moving towards a more clean, more primordial, more inherently ontological answer to our question as what is the meaning of being. In the forehaving doesn't include more than inauthentic being of design, and the forehaving is less than whole. Interpretation of if it's primordial, the being of design as authentic in totality, and design's potentiality for being a whole. So what is design's potentiality for being a whole? That is potentiality for being, and that ultimately leads to the idea of death here. The end of being in the world is death, and the being in the world, the idea of death belongs in that being, unless you're going to try to be inauthentic to what design is. The end, or death, is part of the character of design, and being towards death is authenticity. And what is being towards death like in a very vague way, and not really hashing it out here. Being towards death is mostly understanding the fact that you are not immoral, you have mortality, you will one day have an end. That is design's understanding that there will come an end one time, and understanding that and taking that into your own being, that is real authenticity. And being towards death is a part of design's being, whether it recognizes that or not. But having a being towards death is real authenticity, whereas not having that is inauthenticity. So, and being a whole has to do with having being towards death and having that authenticity. And that's being towards death, and being a whole is to exist authentically as a whole. That is to have a authentic existence, and that's potentiality for being wants to have a conscience as well. The potentiality for being a whole becomes variable. It becomes visible as a mode of care. The primordial ontological basis of design's existentiality is temporality. Temporality, what is that? That is the articulated structural totality of design's being as care, first becoming existentially intelligible. That is the existential temporal analysis of design's being. And we must lay bare in temporal meaning the ontological structures of design previously obtained. Everydayness reveals itself as a mode of temporality. And in going back to analyze design's temporality and the phenomenon of temporality therein, and that there it becomes transparent, and you develop what is called a historiology. So it's kind of looking at where we are going, and we're going to talk about stuff like being towards death, and how that really, and like using care as the jumping off point, and looking at design in a more temporal lens. And therefore we'll have stuff like historiology, temporality being towards death, and having an authentic existence, and showing how temporality is a part of design's being. And at some point, I would like to, once I've gone further and I've done a few more, at least 3 more installments in this next division, I want to sort of make a little flow chart as to how this whole thing works, to make it, to sort of distill it, to make it. It's wrong to distill Heidegger or to make it more easy to understand, but it might be helpful. So I'm gonna try and do that at some point. Let me know your thoughts if I messed anything up, and we're going forward. But this should be fun to learn more about Heidegger. Thank you very much for watching.